We were born with eyes to see these things. Thank thee for the fields where the clover is grown. Thank thee for the pastures where cattle may roam. Thank thee for thy love so pure and free, O Lord, we thank thee.
Do common things uncommonly well. Do common things uncommonly well. Whenever we think of success, we tend to think that because not many people achieve it, then it must be quite complicated. We believe achieving success means doing uncommon things or being uncommon people. We equate success with doing extraordinary things. However, those who have achieved some measure of success say it is not that complicated. It was John D. Rockefeller Jr. who said, the secret to success is to do common things uncommonly well. It's to do common things uncommonly well. He has to know what he's talking about. And this was the point in life when he was one of the richest men in this world. So he knows what he's talking about. He says it's to do common things uncommonly well. The most successful businesses are those that do common things in excellent ways, not complicated. Sometimes all these businesses do is something so seemingly insignificant, something so common that their competitors end up thinking, how did they do it? So it is to do the common things uncommonly well. What is the common thing that you know you can do uncommonly well? Ask yourself this question. Being able to identify this, to spot something simple but important that you can put your heart and soul into, that might well be the thing that propels you towards success. The truth is that anyone can make the simple complicated. It is making things easy that attracts success. To be successful, one has to do common things with a spirit of excellence. And this is in line with that timeless advice given by the great Martin Luther King Jr. And these are his words. If it falls to your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Leontyne Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. If you can't be a pine at the top of the hill, be a shrub in the valley. Be the best little shrub on the side of the hill. Those were the words of Martin Luther King Jr. And that is by way of introduction and a welcome to this morning's Zed in the Morning. Coming up top of the hour 6, I would like Saka with a 6 a.m. news.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Good morning and welcome to the Zed Morning News here on 101.9 FM. We are coming to you live from number 6 Anyata Avenue, East Legon. Coming up in this bulletin, government to expedite processes to extradite former Maslock CEO Zed In The Morning to face justice after she was sentenced to 10 years in jail for causing financial loss to the state. Former NPP MP for Joseph Kwabena Owusu Diomi to reject attempts by the party to have him rescind decision to contest the April 30th by-elections as an independent candidate, and GPRTU to conclude discussions with Transport Ministry over possible hikes in transport fares today. Moving on to the first story, government is set to expedite processes to extradite former Maslock CEO Zed In The Morning from the U.S. following her conviction for causing financial loss to the state. The former CEO and the head of operations at Maslock, Daniel Axim, have been on trial since 2019 after they were handed 78 charges, which include conspiracy to stealing and stealing. They both pleaded not guilty to the charges in trial. However, the Financial and Economic Division of the High Court, presided over by Justice Efiasewa Asaribotre, yesterday found them guilty of the counts. The former CEO has been handed a 10-year jail sentence, while Daniel Axim has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. My colleague Regina Bolebote provides some background information about the trial.
10 years is reasonable in the circumstance. I'm not going to quarrel about it for now, but we'll take the full judgment and read. But 10 years is something that's reasonable in the circumstance. But if need be, that there's a need for an enhancement, why not? But at the moment, from what we've listened to and what we've learned from the...
All right, so you've talked about the 78 charges brought against Zed In The Morning and Daniel Axim. Now, the charges include improper payments, money laundering, and violations of the Public Procurement Act. Now, the prosecution is alleging that the defendants embezzled 3.19 million cedis during their tenure at Maslock and caused a deliberate financial loss of 1.97 million Ghana cedis to the state. Now, they are also accused of making unauthorized commitments resulting in financial obligations totaling 61.74 million Ghana cedis and laundering an amount of 3.7 million Ghana cedis. Now, in February 2023, that's February last year, the court granted the prosecution's request to proceed with the trial in the absence of Zed In The Morning. Now, she had been permitted to travel to the United States in 2021 for medical treatment, but then she failed to return. And so her trial was in absentia. Now, before that trial in absentia, the court had ordered the former GNPC boss Alex Mode and actor Gavivina Tamaklo to pay 5 million Ghana cedis as a bail bond to the state because they stood surety for Zed In The Morning, but then they were unable to produce Zed In because she was not in the country. So those are some of the details.
Yes, Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tia Yabua, who spoke to journalists after the judgment, said efforts are underway to extradite Zed In The Morning to Ghana. Listen.
10 years is reasonable in the circumstance. I'm not going to quarrel about it for now, but we'll take the full judgment and read. But 10 years is something that's reasonable in the circumstance. But if need be, that there's a need for an enhancement, why not? But at the moment, from what we've listened to and what we've learned from the judgment, 10 years is reasonable. And the other accused person also had 5 years cumulatively. So let's see what happens. Any property that the first accused person has within the jurisdiction or outside the jurisdiction, if you get hold of it, we are going to pursue that property and get the money for the state. We have the MLA, Mutual Legal Assistance, US, we have that treaty with them. So very soon, you hear about the results. So just rest assured and keep monitoring. The state attorneys are here. In the course of the trial, they made it known to the court that the issue about extradition may be tackled. But the preoccupation was to make sure the matter proceeded to finality. And today, we've come to that stage. And so we're going to take that next step. When it comes to extradition, sometimes you start and you have some kind of problems, blocks. The person may choose to appeal and all manner of things. But this is the situation where we have final judgment. It's not as if you are being brought here to be tried, where you can raise all the defense out there that maybe they're persecuting or whatever, but it's a judgment. And so that's why I said, you hold on. Very soon, she'll be brought down to Ghana to face justice.
Away from that story, a pro-democracy group, the GH Elections Project, says it will not back down on a decision to stage series of protests to drum home demand for an end to the ongoing power outages, popularly called Dumso. Last week, the group served notice of its intention to embark on a 5-day protest starting on April 23. But barely a week to the protest, the group is yet to secure a permit from the Ghana Police Service due to a disagreement over the date. Head of the political desk of the election project, Loris Lamte, has been speaking to Z News.
We notified the police of a demonstration. The police are saying the date we provided is not so much convenient for them. So we needed to change the date. We are also insisting on having it on the day, which is 23rd to 27th. And the police is insisting the date is not convenient for them. We don't know whether there are some other higher powers influencing this. But if there are, then they should back off to protest against the Dumso menace. It is affecting properties, it is affecting gadgets, it's affecting lives at our various hospitals. And what our call is that government should first bring out a reliable timetable. And the second call is for the government to come out with a proper roadmap towards the rooting out of the Dumso problem. The third is to fix Dumso totally, entirely, that no other government will come and face any form of Dumso again. Then the fourth one is that in providing a timetable, they should exclude the various hospitals. The hospitals should have lights. People are dying at the surgery unit, they are dying at the childbirth unit, and we will not tolerate this anymore.
You're still listening to the Morning Bulletin here on Z 101.9 FM. I am Saka Abdullahi. Let's proceed. Former NPP MP for Joso Kwabena Usuediome says the governing party has missed the window of opportunity for engagement on its decision to contest the by-elections as an independent candidate. The NPP's Ashanti Regional Communications Director Paul Yandor had told Z News that the party will meet with a 3-time MP to iron out their differences and get him to reverse his decision to go independent. But political scientist with the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Jonathan Ochre, says the NPP will have a difficult time talking to the former MP and to convince him out of his decision. Let's take a listen.
It's going to be very difficult to buy him out of this particular position. Why? Because this is someone who has complained bitterly about a certain infamous album called John Kuma's album, of which he feels that it is fraught with errors, fraught with things that ought not to be. And so once he's complaining about this particular album and nothing has been done about it, and today he's deciding to go, on an independent, adventure, then it will be very difficult for the mother party to talk him out. But all the same, it does not in any way prevent the mother party from going ahead to do something of that sort.
That was political scientist Dr. Jonathan Ochre. Well, his prediction is already playing out because we've been speaking to the aide of the former NP Nana Osei Bonsu, who says nothing can make Kwabena Usuediome change his mind about going independent.
For Yandor is not supposed to be taken serious. Because this same issue that we are citing as a reason for deciding to contest independent tickets, it stands to be failure to address these same concerns that we have been talking about. He has not the moral temerity to speak on this issue.
But if there is a gesture from the party, an attempt to engage your candidate to rescind the decision to go independent, would that be welcomed by your camp?
They've exhausted that lottery. If they wanted to have this issue resolved, they would have come long ago. So there is no time for any such an engagement. It does not matter anymore.
You mean they missed the window for an engagement with your candidate?
That's exactly what I mean. These things that we are talking about didn't start today. It's 2-3 years. And no attempt whatsoever has been made to have it resolved.
Finally, nothing can compel the Honorable Kwabena Usuediome to go back on his word to contest as an independent candidate.
No. There's no. I don't think there'll ever be any.
You had the aide of Kwabena Usuediome speaking on that matter. Let's move on to some transport issues. The GPRTU is expected to continue its discussions with the Transport Ministry over possible hikes in transport fares today. It follows the inability of the two parties to reach a consensus on the percentage of increment at a meeting last week. The delay in arriving at a decision resulted in confusion at lorry stations earlier this week when some members of the Concerns Drivers Association of Ghana started charging unapproved fees. Z News will monitor that meeting and bring you an update in our subsequent bulletins. Still in the sector, Deputy Transport Minister Frederick Obeng-Adom has reiterated government's commitment to provide relevant infrastructure to position Ghana as the port of choice within the West African sub-region. He said this yesterday at the commissioning of 4 pilot and security patrol boats to improve security, safety and efficiency at the country's port. He said the boats will instill confidence in the clients.
I'm convinced that this latest investment by the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, plus the recent procurement of the new tugboats, coupled with the modern and state-of-the-art equipment and infrastructure at the MPS 703, Takoradi Bulk Terminal and others, will serve as a catalyst towards attracting a high sense of confidence from clients, especially the shipping lines. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo led government, since taking over reins in power in 2017, has made significant intention which have seen improvement in the clearance time at both the Tema and Takoradi ports. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that the ports have become more efficient through the various expansion works that have been undertaken, and strongly believe all these have the overarching objective of reducing drastically the cost of doing business in the country's ports.
That was the Deputy Transport Minister, Frederick Obeng-Adom. This brings us to the end of the morning bulletin here on Z 101.9 FM. Let's take a look at some of the stories that featured. Government to expedite processes to extradite former Maslock CEO Sedina Tamaklo to face justice after she was sentenced to 10 years in jail for causing financial loss to the state. GPRTU to conclude discussions with Transport Ministry over possible hikes in transport fares today. And former NPP MP for Joso Kwabena Ozuediome to reject attempts by the party to have him rescind his decision to contest the April 30th by-election as an independent candidate. I am Saka Abdullahi. Jerry Ham continues with Zed in the Morning.
Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
myself and you. Let's start. Which papers do you have in hand? Let me start with our very own, the New Finder. It is out today. Yesterday was not out, but today is out. And it says 10 million trees to be planted by June 7th. That is coming from the minister. He says 10 million trees are going to be planted before June 7th. Before June 7th. Another story on the front page of the New Finder. I say ex-Maslock CEO Sedina Tamaklo, jail 10 years. Natoshi, religious leaders must champion tolerance, peace. GRA steps up game. That's a big story at the front page of the New Finder, to enforce tax on foreign incomes of resident Ghanaians. What other paper do you have in hand, sir? Okay. Okay. PRC also appears on the front page of Daily Guide. PRC finds ECG for 5.9 million dollars. And then I have the dispatch as well. Yeah, Ima, you're here. I thought you were not coming. What's happening?
From the new Crusading Guide,
tell us.
Government releases 26 million Ghana cedis to suppliers, ensuring smooth running of educational institutions.
Okay.
And then also, why gas turbines name must change. Ameri in Ghana stands for fraud, rent seeking, and corruption. Kwejon Safuapuku.
Interesting.
Iyoko clears roads and highways ministry. Professor Stephen Adair's bribery allegation says it's unfortunate. Kingsley Owusu-Brobe chairs NPP UK new chapter.
Okay.
And then finally, Natoshi Addo tells religious leaders, create atmosphere for political religious tolerance.
Okay. I have here the Daily Post. Says, show me the projects from the loans you have taken. Muhammad Des, Akufo-Addo. And then the big one says, NDC to officially outdoor its 2024 running mate, Prof. Nana Jane Opoku Ajiman. Still on the front page of the Daily Post, it says, Mahama accuses Akufo-Addo of mortgaging the future of Ghanaian youth. And then there's an NDC recommissioning of Ameri Power Plant, an indication of a clueless government. Mr. Sam.
I'll take you to business with the PFFT. Government determined to reach debt agreements. Targets will be sustainable. In gas, oil and gas, LPG consumption shows decline amid soaring prices. This is very interesting in terms of climate change. It means that people reverting back to coal and wood burning.
On the economy, Finance Ministry affirms progress in debt restructuring and talks with creditors.
Okay.
And the BOG expects flexibility in IMF program amid changing economic dynamics.
Great.
The Ghanaian publisher, promote peace, tolerance. Natoshi charges leaders. Green Ghana Day targets 10 million trees as Jenapo demands more conservation efforts. Ex-Maxlog boss jailed 10 years for causing 90 million Ghana cedis financial loss to the state.
Okay, and the Chronicle. Green Ghana meant to fight climate crisis, says the lands minister. Then in the top right corner, it says Duejiri Zongo chiefs reaffirm allegiance to Ochimang. Court chastises AG for failing to seek extradition of ex-Maslog boss. Then Natoshi to GBC pastors, use your pulpit to preach peace. Mr. Sam.
The Informer. So this is a very interesting one by Professor Adair's allegation that road contracts, before you get it, you pay 1 million Ghana cedi bribe. So Iyoko exonerates contractors and ministry on this particular allegation. And PRC comes up again. PRC cracks whip on ECG board members. And then there's one bit of news that I think is also interesting. Addressing increasing insecurity challenges. Ghana calls for collaboration and efforts. And that same story is repeated on the Daily Dispatch, which says that the international community must support local efforts against terrorism. Honorable Kandapa.
Okay.
From the Daily Analyst, NDC to officially outdoor Nana Opoku Ajimai next week. ECG board members fined 5.8 million over Dumso. And then IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington. Finance Minister, Bank of Ghana, Governor lead Ghana's delegation. The Federation of African Journalists, FAJ, extends warm birthday wishes to GJA president. And then ex-Maslock boss jailed 10 years for causing financial loss to the state. To conclude, the Daily Analyst, Sam Jonah launches GJA 75th anniversary today. The story is on page 3 and page 4 of the Daily Analyst.
Okay, I have here the Ghanaian Times, and it's a boost for reforestation. Green Ghana Day launched to plant 10 million tree seedlings nationwide. Omni BSIC Bank post historic 150 million Ghana cedis profit in 2023. Economic impact of Akosombo dam spillage. Affected communities lose 1.6 billion Ghana cedis in agric livelihoods. That's the FAO's assessment. And then former Maslock CEO jailed 10 years in absentia. Head of operations gets 5 years. You have another paper, Mr. Wharton?
Yeah, the Daily Statesman. Court jails former Maslock CEO manager. Natoshi urges leaders to campaign tolerance, peace. 10 million trees for planting. Yana urges support for June 7 Green Ghana Days. So I beg your pardon. And then where is Alban Bagbin? I'll be interested to know what is in there. Story is on page 5. Where is Alban Bagbin?
Okay. And then on the front page of the Daily Graphic, 2024 Green Ghana Day launch, 10 million trees to be planted. Former Maslock boss jailed 10 years in absentia. PURC fines ECG 5.86 million for service delivery breaches or door basin bridges causing floods to be removed. Okay, so that's the front page of the Daily Graphic. So, gentlemen, which of the stories have piqued your interest so far this morning?
Oh, of course, the Maslock one is the big elephant in the room, as all the newspapers carried it. She's actually not in the country at the moment, which is a worry. I hear the AG say that they're going to extradite her. Depends whether we have any agreement with the US or wherever she is. If that agreement is there, that will allow for that extradition.
You don't trust she's in the US?
I don't know. We all don't know. But then the key thing for me is that corruption is a big canker, and for me, I believe it's the bane of our development. If the money, allocated to where it's supposed to go goes to where it's supposed to go, our development will happen. But if it goes to individual pockets, then of course we're not able to develop. And the implications of this is that those in public office currently and those who's going aspire to be in future public office need to know that they'll be held accountable. And it serves as a deterrence, for people who are going to or have aspirations of by the time they leave office, they'll have a certain amount of money in their bank account. And for me, the thing also on this particular story is that it should contribute to making corruption unattractive. I hear that her properties are going to be attached even if they don't get her, which is one of the key things that when people loot public resources, they go to jail, come back, and then come and enjoy their loot. But then if we are able to confiscate, do the final bit of making sure that the corrupt act or the outcome of the corrupt act does not benefit the people who took it.
Then it makes corruption unattractive.
Unattractive, correct. And for me also, I think this also builds public trust, in our systems, that it works. But then it has to be fair. It has to be applied for all public officials. It's not only when people get out of office that we should start chasing them for their corrupt acts, but even whilst they are in office, that is where we need to, start pursuing them.
10 years in absentia, is that a hard enough punch to put others off?
Well, and then if also we're able to confiscate the proceeds from the corrupt act, I think that will serve as a good deterrence. That knowing that you not benefit from corruption is very, very important. So this is all well and good. This is all well and good. And it means also that, this should be ongoing. Not when people leave office or when that they're able to abscond. But then whilst they're in office and there's suspicion, we need to pursue it. And it supports some of, it's not really like our change of government. this is why we should always, Ghanaians, maybe it's not that good for continuity, but changing government allows things like this to happen. You see, so because once you maintain a political party in power for a very long time and have Mugabe's, then records such as this gets disappeared. People are able to hide, what they are doing. I'm not, talking about this current election happening, not at all. But in general terms, it's important that this leads to, we investigating people in office or whilst they're out of office, and the continuity, stops that. Yeah.
But do we know if the 5 million that was supposed to have been paid by the two churches, Gavivina Tamaklo and Alex Mo, do you know if that money has been paid? Because they stood in for, because that's an angle of the story that I think is of interest.
And what happens to them? Those standing sureties, what's the implication?
You see, that is an angle of the story that we should look at. But for me, the challenge whenever it comes to corruption is that I'm always thinking those left behind, those who are relatives, children, family, if I could say that. How does it feel like when your kids go to school and mommy or daddy or auntie or family member is on the front page, jail this, corruption that? I think that should be also one of the things that should deter people from going into that line.
Absolutely.
Because, these days the kids know stuff. So social media is there, and on the way to school, radio is on and all that. They have their phones on them before they get to school. So before you get to school, they know. And when these things begin to pop up, your mates are talking about it. Do you know these friends that my mommy has been? For me, that alone, the reputational risk, is something that should deter people. Ima, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But Jerry, you see, if someone is engaged in a corrupt act, I don't think it's one of the things that the person considers.
At all.
Yeah, the person does not really look at the far-reaching ramifications on their immediate family or even the extended one. I think that the motive, the opportunity, when you look at the triangle that perpetrates fraud or crime, you see that that has not even come in. The person implication of what they have done doesn't come in. And those things will emerge when, you are found guilty of the act. It will emerge. Your family will feel bad. Your kids at school, they are going to go through it. But are they even concerned about it, those who are doing the act? Is this something that they hold on to deter them? No. So maybe I think, in addition to sentencing the person to prison, the money that has been lost, or the loss to the state, should actually be taken.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Sam was saying.
When you are able to confiscate that money, I think that is because then everybody would know that when I do it, even if I'm sentenced to jail, which you may think you can serve the term and come back, I'm still going to pay for that money. And I even think that the money should be future valued, because that money was lost somewhere around 2014. It's 10 years on. So what is the real value of the money today? And I think it shouldn't just be what was lost then, but the value of the money today. Yeah, because if I'm taking the money today, and if we present value that money to then, it would mean
we've lost.
Okay. So I think that in addition to taking the money from the corporate, I think in addition we should also future value the money, maybe use a certain rate, inflate it or something, and then take the money from the person. I think that would put people on their feet, and then they would know that, no, when I do this, in some years to come, I'll be found. And once I'm found, not only am I going to serve a prison term, I'm also going to pay back the money plus interest, because time would have elapsed, and what that money meant yesterday would have to mean more today.
You both raised very, very important points about the deterrence about family, friends, children, and all of that. I like that bit, because I think our society in general and our culture, in quotes, also, push people to this sort of acts. So all of a sudden, you are made a CEO of or an MD of a state institution. Straight away you start getting demands from church members. All of a sudden, you are made a church harvest committee chairman or chairman of all of that, and you're supposed to, give. Where are you going to find that money from? From your salaries? So, this, I'm just not, to hold brief for public officials, but society's demand on those public officials also sometimes pushes them to the point that they don't even think about their reputation when they are caught. So society also, have to also bear some of this, guilt, because we push them. If you meet the MD or the MD of Bank of Ghana and you don't help people, they'll say, we don't need Shimoding. He had this position, he could not do anything for us. He couldn't, build a community hospital in his village. He couldn't do this for his family members. And this pushes people. The demands from society also push. But then, so what do? How do we stop that?
Are you saying our culture promotes corruption?
Some levels it does.
Okay.
Some levels it does. I mean, right from, even when you're doing community entry, you're supposed to hold some schnapp to go and give the elders. All that little gifts and all those things and expectations also comes in. So there should be a broader, wider education about some of our acts that push some of these public officials. Of course, some of them are very greedy. I mean, if you look at the instances of, the corrupt acts that was, unearthed at Maslock, like what's it called? The fire victims are supposed to get money and they never got it. Sanitation, inflated trotro vehicles that even the GP had to rejected because it was so high. All of those things is pure greed. But then there are some people who actually go in there with goodwill, but the demands. I mean, recently I was reading something from the MPs, talking about how unattractive their work is, which also makes me think that why do you always still campaign to go there again if you have so much demands?
Yeah, because they also enjoy some diplomatic
perks around it, So. But we need to look at corruption in a very broad sense, that society is involved, the greed is involved, corruption itself is attractive in our scheme of things because people are not punished for their acts. They are not held accountable for their acts and how they abuse power whilst they are in office. That should be looked at.
I think I agree with him very much. Yeah, and the bit on education is very important. Questions like how should an MP who is earning this amount of money, what should be the kind of life he should live, his expense, and so when it is going beyond it, it should give a signal. And people must also know that the fact that someone is an MP doesn't mean he can provide school fees for everybody in his constituency. Somebody becomes the CEO of a bank, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden he must start giving so much to the society. I know our culture is one that is quite inclusive. It's one that is, we have a culture where we are always around one another. And so that is the kind of culture we have. But what should we do? I think we should also be honest with ourselves. I become a CEO of, say, a bank. I must let my subjects, I must let the people around me know that I cannot do this.
Would they listen, though?
So the point is, someone comes to you, you have to be honest with them. Because once you start giving, we call it smoothing. If I give Jerry 100 cedis today, the next time he's coming to me, he expects that I give him either 100 cedis or more.
Anyway, Green Ghana Day launched.
100 million trees.
100 million trees. 10 million.
10
million trees to be planted nationwide. Should we have Green Ghana Day or we should have Green Ghana every day?
Green Ghana every day.
Because March was what? The hottest ever.
Hottest. Very hot.
Should that not worry us? I mean, when we do these, anyway, of course, it's a great idea. It's a wonderful initiative that we must all support. But should it be events or it should be a lifestyle?
It should be a lifestyle. And I think in addition to that, there should also be a hard campaign on the destruction of our forest.
Okay.
On the felling of trees, cutting of trees. You would note that maybe some of the reasons behind the hot weather we have experienced in this past weeks may be due to the fact that our ozone layer is being depleted gradually. Yeah, because I've not experienced this in Ghana.
It was scary.
Yeah, very, very scary.
You remember the day we drove?
Yeah,
and the heat was coming from the asphalt.
You are in a car that the AC is on and you're feeling heat.
In the car.
It was scary.
I would like to link this to the LPG consumption shows decline amid soaring prices, reported by BFT's analysis, IES Institute of Energy Security Analysis, which reveals that households' consumption of LPG gas is declining. And so we're planting how many trees?
10 million.
10 million trees, and what this implies is that people are now going to go to those 10 million trees for their energy because of high prices.
And you
of
think
LPG.
people are not consuming LPG, or it's declining because people
decline
are
because of the prices.
cutting trees?
No, because of the prices.
So people are doing charcoal?
So he's saying people will now move or shift.
The application of this research, this analysis, is that because of high cost of energy,
fuel,
gases, people have reduced their consumption. Obviously, they are still going to cook. So where are they going to find the
electricity?
Oh, who does electric cooker these days? I mean, it's been phased out. Yeah. So I mean, whilst we are doing this greening Ghana, we need to look at other things that affect our forest. So we can plant trees. If we plant 10 million trees, and Galamsey takes out 5 million, people using it for energy at home takes out 6 million. That's a big deficit of 1 million now. So can we play catch up? So that's why it has to be every day. No, but planting trees every day does not only just mean planting trees every day, but there should be education around climate change. Yeah.
No, I'm quiet because I'm wondering, shouldn't the study there in the BNFT not have told us what they are doing with the alternative? How are they finding fuel if they are not? If they are not consuming LPG?
Yeah.
No.
Charcoal? I don't believe charcoal.
Focus on what is happening to the LPG gas.
But are you saying they are going for charcoal?
I don't have evidence.
Yeah. It doesn't say, but what alternative are they resorting to then?
That is a very good question. And
it is. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
And maybe we can look at it. We can maybe find out from people randomly what are they using to cook now that fuel prices. I mean, LPG prices are high. What are they using to cook? And maybe it could be true that one of the places they'll run to is firewood and charcoal. Before LPG, we are known, our birthright is firewood and charcoal.
Yeah, but in the community in which you are, do people still even have coal pots that they use?
Just look at it this way.
Is it not possible
if you are doing firewood? No, if you are doing firewood and charcoal, it has an effect on the ozone.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yes, and so if our current weather is one that is harsh, then that will also mean that it's likely we are doing firewood and charcoal.
We need to go look into that.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, because it's worrying. It's really worrying.
Mm-hmm. It defeats the purpose.
For me, if we plant 10 million trees, and with one hand, and we use the other hand to cut down 10 million trees, then it's a zero-sum game. We've not gained anything. Mm-hmm. And so, in addition to planting 10 million trees, I think there should be a deliberate policy on not bringing down trees. And Galamsey is taking away trees because you need to take the soil. And if there's a tree there, it has to go away.
Yeah.
Okay, so it must be a combined effort.
Yeah, it must be a combined. Yeah, so we think so.
There's one more story that also was of interest to me, maybe because of the season we find ourselves in. Outdoor basin, bridges causing floods to be removed. Now, on the face of it, it looks like, there's a good measure. If the bridge is causing the flood, clear it off. And they've even designated the bridges that are going. But bridges serve a purpose. They are to link communities. Yeah. They're to link one side of the huge drain to the other side. So if you clear the bridges, because they are causing the flooding, what happens to movements? That for me is a part of the story that I found. Well, are we going to be doing boats, canoes? The outdoor basin itself. You remember one of the presidential aspirants during the NPP's primaries was talking about what to do with that basin, and I think it's something we should think about as a nation. It's so central to Accra. Yeah. It's so important that we need to look at it and look at it from the tourism kind of angle.
Yeah,
because it's running through. Can you imagine it is dredged well and boats are put on it and all that. It will
The
be
dredging bit was what I was actually, coming to. Is the bridges the cause of the flooding?
That's
or
what-
is the pollution in
Of
the
the
outdoor,
bridges, yeah.
the outdoor that is actually causing the flooding?
And Jerry, yesterday I think we were having a discussion, and one of the points we made was that Ghana itself has a drainage deficit. Our drainage system needs to be checked. It needs to be looked at.
Definitely.
And I think that if we would address that, I think we can turn the Odo bridge around.
Maybe if one of the independent presidential aspirants is able to tell us more about their dream of taking the sea and Mami water to Kumasi, maybe there's a wider plan of dredging, river and other water bodies, and this may come in. So maybe we need to hear him out on this whole vision of using water bodies to boost the economy. Maybe this will be something that will save our bridges, because I like Jerry said, the bridges link communities. They serve a purpose. They were not just put there for no reason.
I mean, the story said they will be reconstructed, but when are they being cleared? When are they being constructed again and all that?
And the impact to the community members who use it. Yes.
Because if people try, you've seen the heavy floods where people attempt to cross and they are taken away and all that. And there are some parts that even you see these muscular men standing in the waters and carrying women behind them and all that.
And especially if all things remain the same, we are slightly entering into a rainy season.
We have.
And
it looks like we have.
Exactly. We'll be having rains pouring down. And so if this is the time you are doing it, then there's going to be some sort of challenge. Because if you take away the bridge and it rains, I think there's
a lot of work that must be done in terms of preparation for floods. And like I keep saying, there is so much we still don't know about this capital city.
Accra.
Yes, because it looks to me and it shows that we founded it on some very deep valleys and some underground water systems and all that. And I speak to the issues of, like Kanishin, Accra Kadame stretch, where that flood came and waters were not really coming from the top, but the waters were coming from down and taking asphalt off and all that. So, I mean, and even if you look at the names of the communities and Jowulu and, you're wondering, like, the
most of it has water,
the topography, maybe we need to take a second look at these things. Because I'm told there's a drainage from all the way from, like, Kingsway, Swansea Arcade, all through to, like, the sea, the underground drains and all that we don't know. So when they are, choked, hey, we're in trouble. But anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for coming through. Mr. Jerry Sam happens to be the executive director of Pen Plus Byte. I'm the only one who says it's too well. Pen Plus Byte. Anybody who tries gets in trouble. Mr. Emmanuel Watson is a colleague right here. It's 6:50. What is 6:50? Zed Sports with Nia Kwe, the sportscaster.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Oh my gosh, Kudus, Mapavana from Guyana.
Looking forward to the game. Looking forward to the game.
And so, top of the hour to you, it's exactly 6:51, and this is Z101.9. My name is Niakwe, the sportscaster, and I'm privileged once again to be the man on the MIC. It's Zed Sports. All right, so it's Zed Sports, and coming up in our headlines this morning, angry Kumasi Asante Kotoko fans stormed the Adakujachi to prevent Prosper Ogum and the players from training. That is the news on the grounds from yesterday. And Kylian Mbappe scored twice as PSG overturned the first leg deficit against Barcelona at the Camp Nou. Interesting scenes in that particular one. Ronaldo Araujo sent off and the game spinning on its head. Eventually 6-4 on aggregate to PSG. And Borussia Dortmund also managed to secure their slot in the semi-finals, winning 4-2 at the Signal Iduna against Atletico Madrid, who put a brilliant fight back. Diego Simeone and his charges failing to get that much wanted slot for the semi-final. And later tonight is make or break for Arsenal as they go to the Allianz Arena after that 2-2 draw at the Emirates. This is going to be a fierce clash for both teams who are seeking that European glory. And arguably the match of tonight, Real Madrid versus Manchester City, or should I say Manchester City versus Real Madrid at the Etihad Stadium. Remember, the first leg is deadlocked at 3-3. All right, so let's get straight into the action. Let's start off from the local front. As per usual, Kumasi Asante Kotoko supporters barred head coach Prosper Ogum and his players from training at the Kumasi Asante Kotoko's field in Adakujachi yesterday as tensions continue to grow at the club. According to reports, the angry fans prevented the team from having their regular training session following a series of poor performances in the Ghana Premier League. The Porcupine Warriors have slipped to the 11th position on the table after recording 7 defeats in 9 games. The team's recent performances have seen them surrender their position in the top half of the table, with Hearts of Oak surpassing them. And so, still on the local front, Ghana's hopes of going further in the 2024 Futsal Africa Cup of Nations were dashed when they lost badly to Angola 11-3 in their last group match, eliminating them from the competition. They started the trip with a 5-2 loss to Zambia and an 8-3 loss to the host nation, Morocco. Morocco won the top spot in Group A, followed by Angola and then Zambia in second and third place respectively. Ghana finished their campaign with 8 goals scored and 24 goals conceded over the course of 3 games, bottom of the group standings. And we should focus to the world of athletics. Bawa Fuseni also in the news. He has revealed that the country will request to host the 2026 Senior African Athletics Championship. This comes after the successful hosting of track and field events at African Games at the Legon Stadium. The government spent $34 million on the renovation and completion of the facility prior to the Games. Should Ghana successfully bid for and obtain the rights, it will be the first time the country is hosting the continental event. And quickly shifting attention beyond the shores of Ghana, the international front beckons, and of course, as you all know, the UEFA Champions League is in full flight. Barcelona yesterday lost 1-4 in the second leg and on aggregate 4-6 to PSG, who are gunning for a first ever Champions League title. We saw Ousmane Dembele return to the Camp Nou in devastating fashion. He's now scored 3 goals for PSG, with 2 coming against his former club Barcelona. Commiserations to Xavi Hernandez and his charges. This was not the year and they are still a work in progress. Borussia Dortmund also beating Atletico Madrid by 4-2, as I mentioned in the headlines at the Signal Iduna. What a party it was. Julian Brandt getting on the score sheet. Sabitzer away from Manchester United and doing wonderful things in the Champions League for Dortmund at the Wanda Metropolitan. Of course, Atletico Madrid had an advantage, but in the end, it counted for nothing. And coming up tonight, Bayern Munich have a chance to make the season count. Thomas Tuchel and his guys will host Arsenal after drawing 2-2 at the Emirates last week. You also saw how it panned out. And Arsenal, with one eye also on the English Premiership, will give full attention tonight to this particular one because the Champions League has eluded them for a very long time. In fact, they've never ever won it. What will be the outcome? Z Sports will definitely keep you posted. Manchester City versus Real Madrid is the other big one happening at the Etihad Stadium. Pep Guardiola with almost a perfect team. Kevin De Bruyne back in action. And Real Madrid also will need their front three to be on song if they are to eliminate Manchester City. It's becoming a rivalry in the last few years. And yes, a blockbuster is on the cards. Now, in a rejoinder to that, Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham is backing his team to beat Manchester City despite being underdogs. Whoever wins tonight's Champions League quarter-final second leg between Man City and Real Madrid will be firm favourites to lift the trophy at Wembley, because definitely they will be meeting the winner of the other corresponding quarter-final game. So yes, they look like it looks like the winner will come from there. And Bayern Munich striker Harry Kane believes Spurs fans will be hoping he can knock out his former club's fierce rivals Arsenal in the Champions League, despite the Gunners' victory actually helping Spurs. Tottenham's Champions League qualification hopes took a big dent over the weekend after the 4-0 defeat at Newcastle saw them slip out of the top 4 into 5th place. Now, Mikel Arteta believes Champions League quarter-final success against Bayern Munich will take Arsenal to the next level, as he told his players to write a different story at the Allianz Arena. The Gunners head into today's second leg, locked at 2-2 with Thomas Tuchel's Bayern after a thrilling draw at the Emirates. Let's take a listen to Mikel Arteta.
A performance that put us in the Champions League semi-final, and all the preparation has been to achieve that, and we have earned it. We have earned it for 10 months and everything that we did last season to start that journey in the Champions League after so many years, and tomorrow I have an unbelievable opportunity to make it happen. I'll throw the game away and the one that we played a few days ago, because regardless of that result, it's going to have no impact in what's going to happen tomorrow. Refocus and start to build the confidence, the trust, the understanding of the performance that we have to put tomorrow to beat them and be through in the tie.
Okay, Sammy Mockbell from the Mail.
Emotion is needed in football, is tweaking it, tweaking and touching the right button in the right time for the team to be always stable, be hyped when it has to be hyped. And I think we did that really well in London, because after scoring the first goal, we had a game that we had a big chance to score the second one, and then suddenly in 5-10 minutes they are ahead.
All the best to the teams competing in tonight's Champions League ties, and hopefully we are going to have some great goals just as we did last night. Our final story takes us into the world of boxing. Deontay Wilder says he is 90% sure a fight with Anthony Joshua will happen in the future. The American heavyweight faces Zhilei Zhang on the 1st of June, 6 months on from his shock defeat by Joseph Parker. The loss to Parker derailed the planned fight against Joshua, but Wilder says the long-awaited bout can still happen. Let's take a listen.
What percentage is there that we will see this Anthony Joshua fight?
It's still in the 90% projectile of things that are happening. I put it in the high 90s. People are always gonna want to see that fight no matter what. It only take that one fight, that one night, and June 1st is gonna be that night. That one fight, Deontay Wilder knocks his head off, and the world go crazy. And there you go again. Wilder versus Joshua. They won it. I always said that before. It'll be a shame if we never fought.
All right, so there it was. And on that note, we draw the curtains on this segment, the Wednesday edition of Z Sports. Remember to keep following us on all our social media handles. ZFMGH on TikTok. We are on YouTube, IG, and also on X as well. Facebook, not left out. So definitely, we'll be back later on the evening drive. My colleague Gatuzo to the Power 7 will be seated here and give you all the updates. The lineups for the UEFA Champions League would have been out by then. My name is Niakwe, the sportscaster. The business segment is up next. Until then, keep the message. Always do not count the days. Make the days count.
Here's Mensah. This is positive. Williams. Kudos! A Korean joy did not last for long.
Oh my gosh, kudos, the piranha from Guyana.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Hello and welcome to the business news segment of Zed in the Morning. I am Saka Abdullahi. Coming up, government is working on increasing revenue generation. Tourism Authority and its partners to launch a cooking feast in Ghana. And EcoBank Ghana advises customers on charges on products and services. Let's delve into the details. Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Abena Osei-Asare, has reiterated government's efforts to increase the country's revenue collection and taking additional measures to enforce compliance and discourage tax evasion and avoidance. Contributing to a panel discussion on the theme Unlocking Domestic Resources for Development Through Global Partnerships at the ongoing spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund, the Minister of State stated that Ghana has committed to exploring the potential of increasing its tax to gross domestic product from the current 13% to about 18%.
When you compare Ghana to our peers with the same level of income and same structure of the economy, and we're doing in terms of revenue collection, we're doing quite a bit low. Currently, we're doing around 13% of tax to GDP ratio, and amongst our peers, they're doing in Africa 16.6%, and then OECD around 33.5%. So clearly, there's a challenge that we need to fix to enable us also, and the potential is there to mobilize more revenue. And so, because we are hoping that in the medium term, we need to get to about 18 to 20% of tax to GDP ratio.
The minister spoke about some measures government has been taking to address challenges with revenue generation.
What we have done is to make sure that we have digitized a lot of the revenue handles, and so making it virtually impossible for human interventions to reduce the revenues that we collect. Again, government has come up with the national identification system, where with that, before you get your national identification system, which is now linked to acquisition of passports, acquisition of driver's license and all those things, you need to present credible data. And so that data gives us information about you, and then we are able to know whether you are eligible to pay taxes or not, and then we try to bring them onto the tax net. Again, what we have done is to use the carrot and sticks approach to enforce compliance. And we are encouraging where we need to encourage, and where we also need to take punitive measures, we're doing that.
That was the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Abena Osei-Asare. Moving on, in a bid to showcase and promote Ghana's rich local foods, culinary heritage and diversity as a people, the Ghana Tourism Authority and its partners will this morning launch a cooking festival christened Feast Ghana in Accra. The cooking session scheduled for May 1 is the brainchild of the GTA under the auspices of the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, with support from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Asanteman Queen Mothers Association, the Chefs Association of Ghana, and the Public Service Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress. Feast Ghana, which forms part of Ghana Cares Obatampa project, built to help resuscitate the tourism and hospitality sector from the ravages of COVID-19 pandemic, is on the theme Flavors of Ghana, celebrating Ghana's cultural diversity through food. Director of Corporate Affairs at the GTA, Mr. Jones Aruna Nelson, told Zed Business the initiative will be sustained to help promote Ghana's traditional food to the outside world.
This is the inaugural edition of the Feast Ghana, and as it ties in or dovetails into the May Day celebrations, for instance, we know May Day has come to stay, and so it is going to be an annual event which we think can be sustained. It's a way of promoting our culture, our cuisine, which also dovetails into the See Ghana, Eat Ghana, Well Ghana campaign, as well as the domestic tourism campaign. Of course, it brings people together, brings about social cohesion, brings about harmony. It has a bright future.
In an interview with Zed Business, Programs Director of the Chefs Association of Ghana, Mr. Jovansa, disclosed that members of the association will be involved in the cooking session, together with the Asanteman Queen Mothers Association. He urged organizers to sustain it beyond a one-year initiative.
It should be something that should be promoted all the time. And then when we look at some culture, they do this and then they even export. If you take the Asians, for instance, most of our food today are influenced by some of the Asian cuisines, some even by Arabian cuisines. We are eating noodles all over the place. We are eating pizzas. They are all people's traditional meals. So if we can continue to promote and enhance this recipe, it will help us.
You just heard from Chef Jovan San of the Chefs Association of Ghana. Let's look at some financial news. Financial markets in Ghana experienced a positive turn in trading activity yesterday. The Ghanaian cedi strengthened against both the euro and the pound sterling, while it remained stable against the US dollar. Additionally, there was a slight increase in the indices of the stock market, with the total index being the sole gainer and no decliners observed. These developments suggest a favorable trend in the financial markets, indicating potential opportunities for investors. However, a more detailed analysis of these market movements and their implications will now turn to Tessa Capital for further insights.
Welcome to a recap of the markets brought to you by Tessa Capital Limited. During the day's trading session, the Ghanaian stock market observed a slight increase in its stock indices. The composite index rose by 0.11 points, ending the day at 3,504.34 points, indicating no significant percentage change compared to the prior day. Meanwhile, the financial stock index remained steady at 2,044.52 points, maintaining its level from the previous session. Market capitalization remained relatively unchanged. Amidst the day's trading activity, Total emerged as the lone gainer, experiencing a 0.11% increase in its share prices. Conversely, there were no stocks that declined during the session. Market activity experienced a decline of 6.76% in comparison to the previous session, with the total volume traded amounting to 6,968,088 shares. MTN Ghana emerged as the most actively traded stock. By the conclusion of the session, the total traded value reached 11,137,886 Ghana cedi. During the day's forex trading session, the Ghanaian cedi saw increases relative to the British pound and the euro, while maintaining stability against the US dollar. It registered a 0.27% and 0.17% appreciation against the pound and the euro respectively. Based on the mid-rates published by the Bank of Ghana, the trading day ended with the Ghanaian cedi at 12 cedis 99 pesos against the US dollar, 16 cedis 16 pesos against the pound, and 13 cedis and 81 pesos against the euro. This brings our review to an end, and from all of us at Tessa Capital, make it a great day. Visit us online at www.tessacapital.com or call us on 050-154-6859 for more information. Tessa Capital. Grow your wealth.
That was Tessa Capital, a leading financial institution in Ghana. Still on the financial sector, Ecobank Ghana Limited has advised the general public and particularly the bank's customers to ignore any unofficial information making rounds over fees and charges on foreign currency accounts. A statement issued by the bank said changes to the fees and charges for the products and services are communicated officially and contained in the tariffs guide displayed on the bank's website. The statement urged customers to be rest assured that being a Pan-African bank, Ecobank remains very sensitive to their concerns. That is all the news we have for you on the business news segment of Zed in the Morning. Before I go, let's take a recap of our major stories. Government is working on increasing revenue generation. Tourism Authority and its partners to launch a cooking feast in Ghana. And Ecobank Ghana advises customers on charges on products and services. I am Saka Abdullahi. Jerry Ham continues with the show.
Zed 101.9 FM.
The Electricity Company of Ghana Board, who served from January 1st to March 18th, 2024. The first question that comes up is, does the PURC have that right to do that? Apparently, they do. If you look at the regulatory instrument that brought the PURC into being, Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Consumer Service Regulations 2020, LI 2413. If you look at the 39th regulation, it said here, a public utility may interrupt service to a locality or service to a consumer for the purpose of carrying out planned maintenance, repair, or installation of a new equipment. Then 2, except in a situation of an emergency, the public utility shall not interrupt a service unless the public utility notifies affected consumers of the intended interruption and the appropriate duration. The notification by the public utility shall be by way of A, a public notice, B, directly by telephone, electronic mail, or satellite phone broadcast, or any other appropriate information technology system. The public notice shall be given for a period of not less than 3 working days before the interruption of service. Did you know this, Mr. and Mrs. Consumer? Are you aware that you are to be notified 3 days ahead of time? A public utility that interrupts service to a locality or to a consumer shall restore the service after the period stipulated by the public utility. Then if you go down to the 43, it said the commission, PURC that is, may order the reconnection of a service by a public utility where A, the service was disconnected in error, B, a complaint on billing has been lodged with the commission and by any undisputed bill has been paid, or the commission is satisfied that the circumstances necessitated the reconnection. Now what happens? It said here in 45, where a public utility contravenes a provision of these regulations or a directive or order of the commission may impose a regulatory charge. So you see where the PURC gets its power to fine. It said the commission may impose a regulatory charge on that public utility as specified in the schedule without limiting sub-regulation 1. The commission may order a public utility to pay a reasonable compensation to a consumer for the contravention. The compensation under sub-regulation 2 shall be commensurate with the inconvenience, loss, or damage suffered by the consumer. In other words, if you could prove that by the disconnection without your notification, something got spoiled, you should be compensated in one way or the other. Then he said here, the commission may in addition issue further orders to secure compliance. A public utility is not in breach of these regulations if the provisions do not apply to the core business and activities of the public utility. Then he said, for the purpose of this regulation, regulatory charge means an administrative penalty to be imposed by the Commission for breach of a provision of these regulations. So, if those who are sending in messages and asking if the PRC has the authority to, yes, they do. Failure to comply with a 3-day statutory notice required under Regulation 39 of LI 2413, the Commission, in accordance with Regulation 45 of LI 2413, hereby imposes a regulatory charge of 3,000 penalty units on ECG for each of the 163 breaches, amounting to 5,868,000 Ghana cedis. And this is from the PURC.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
ownership and business. The imposition of the penalty on the utility will be counterproductive, as the payment from ECG's revenue would have a rebounding adverse effect on the quality of service and consumers who pay tariffs to the company. So in effect, because ECG is for all of us, if we find ECG, we're actually finding ourselves. So PRC will be taken from us to give to us, right? That's what it looks like. So you would understand why this law is couched this way, because you should factor in the private sector argument. Because if this were to be a private sector utility company, then the law, the LI we're talking about, LI 2413, would have been fantastic, because then you're going for the jugular on those who run that utility. However, there's a CCG for all of us. So in order to serve as a punitive measure, someone must feel it. So that is why it was hit on the board members. It is for that reason, in the interest of justice and to protect the interest of consumers, the commission shall hold the board members who were in office between January 1st and March 18th liable for the payment. That is what the PURC said. And someone is wondering, would it ever happen? You never know. We're trying to get into the studio Mr. Charles Jojo Enti, who is the Deputy Head Media Relations Manager of the PURC, for us to go into this very story. When we come back, we'll continue on who is paying the 5.86 million. If it is paid, how would we know it's been paid? Order, the Director of Communication of the ECG, William Boateng, told the Daily Graphic that the ECG would meet to come out with a position on the matter. The ECG is saying that they would hold a meeting and then they will tell us what this is all about. So, in the crust of the story, let's go in. He said the ECG was fined for non-compliance with 3 actions, namely with the cash waterfall mechanism, CWM, with a regulatory request for data, and with the PURC Consumer Service Regulations 2020, which is the LI I read at the beginning of this segment of the show. So the commission stated that those board members were at all material times responsible for providing strategic direction to ensure the provision of safe, adequate, efficient, reasonable, and non-discriminatory service to consumers. They are to pay the fine into a dedicated fuel account under the joint control of the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Finance on or before May 30th this year. The Commission will validate compliance in tandem with its cash waterfall validation report and periodic regulatory monitoring. The order dated April 15th, that was 2 days ago, which was served on the ECG the same day, stated. The PURC further ordered ECG to pay 446.28 million Ghana cedis to the Category B beneficiaries under the CWM, that's a cash waterfall validation mandate, cash waterfall mechanism, in addition to honoring its ongoing obligations under the CWM. The amount represents actual revenue collected and declared by ECG to the CWM and approved by the CWM Standing Committee for payment from August 2023 to February 2024, but which remains unpaid. ECG shall pay the amount of 446,283,706 Ghana cedis, 29 pesos, before or by April 30th, 2024. In the event of failure to pay by the said date, the board members and management of ECG shall be held liable, the PURC ordered. The board and management shall be held liable. Luckily for us, we have in the studio Mr. Charles Jojo NC, who is the Deputy Head Media Relations Manager at the PURC. He is right here with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
It's great to have you on Zed in the Morning this morning.
Yes.
How's the day been so far?
It's been all right.
I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on you.
A lot of it.
Because of this very publication.
Exactly.
Tell us, I mean, when did you see this coming? I mean, that you were going to find, is it the first of its kind that is being pushed out there?
For this one, I think it's in the wisdom of the commission is
the board
first,
members.
Yes, it's the first of its kind. Yes, there've been instances where we had to penalize ECG for not for software issues where consumers were not able to buy credit and all that.
Okay,
and we had to issue an order for ECG to pay compensation to those people. You know, you pre-finance you getting the electricity. So if you pay and then you are not getting, the commission had to do something about it. So those were some of the things. But this on the board of ECG is
first of its kind. Yes, so you heard it. It's the first ever, because board members per se believe that they're just there to provide direction, advice. I mean, and then all of a sudden you're being charged to pay this huge amount, and it's expected that you are to pay before a certain date. And let me ask the question that is on everybody's mind: is this for the press, for the cameras, for the headlines, or this is real?
This is real. It's not for the press. It's not for the camera. This is real. Sections of Act 538 of the PRC Act mandates the commission to protect the interest of consumers and that of the service providers as well. So when the commission realizes that things are not going the way it's expected and consumers are not having value for money and all, it behoves on the commission to do something, and that's exactly what we are seeing. The order that is out there is on 3 thematic areas.
Exactly.
Yes. So we are talking about the catch water for mechanism.
What is it?
That is essentially an avenue where ECG does the collection, and then when it's done, they declare the amount, and then it's put on the mechanism table. And the industry players, those who are in the value chain, we are talking about VRA, Gridco, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Energy. You know, there's a distribution of that amount so that everybody in the value chain can play their role effectively for us to have consistent power in the system. At a point in time, ECG declared some amount of money, and then the commission thought everything was just on the right path. Until letters started flowing in from several quarters that the monies are not coming. So, okay, they paid, and then the commission realized that there's an outstanding amount of 440 something, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's what's got to be paid. So the commission had to do something, come in to make sure the industry players, so that we all don't suffer. That's why that order is out. And then,
so that number one is the cash waterfall mechanism. They failed in that direction.
They failed in that direction. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Was it that they were not collecting? They were collecting and not declaring, or they didn't collect at all? What was it?
For that one,
they will know.
It's with the commissioners.
Okay.
This order that's out is from the commissioners, so
okay.
I will not be able to speak to that one. But what I know is that there's an outstanding amount of 446 million Ghana cedis that had to be put on the table for distribution for all the industry players to be able to do their work effectively. Mm-hmm. So this order, we've given them a deadline of 30th April 2024 mm-hmm. to make sure that this amount is paid into the table for distribution to be done. Yes.
Okay, so that is number one, the cash waterfall mechanism.
Yes.
Then the next reason they are being penalized is a regulatory request for data. You ask them to provide some data and they have not.
Yes.
What was that, and why is that also an offense?
Let me go to the fine first.
Okay.
Let me go to the fine first. There's a fine. There's a fine of 5.8 million. And then Section 39.
Okay.
Section 39 of PRC of PRC LI 2413 says that a public utility should inform consumers when they want to do planned outages or planned maintenances.
Yeah, we read that
within
the LI. Yes.
Within 3 days, you should inform them 3 days, And then we realized that they had about 165 planned maintenances.
Okay.
Yes, and out of that, only two that saw the ECD informing the general public.
3 days before.
3 days before, per the LI 2413 that the PRC uses in its work. So 163 of them, there was no communication. And you see, the essence of this is that you need to let consumers know so that they can plan their lives. And those who have insulin in their fridges, hospitals, and other areas, they can plan effectively and know when the power is going to come so that things don't go wrong with them. And it's almost becoming as if we don't care about the consumer, but the PRC protects the interest of consumer and that of the service provider as well. We are not on the other side, and we are not on the other side. We are like referees.
You are referees.
Exactly. So, or some sort of like an auditors,
Yeah.
So if services that are supposed to go to consumers are not right, we have to step in and see how best we can sanitize the system so that consumers can have value for money. So 163 of them, there was no communication at all. So in the wisdom of communication, they said, okay, fine, let's go to our act, let's go to our laws and see the punishments that surrounds some of these things. And then the allowable penalty unit to be charged is about 3,000
Okay.
penalty units. And the unit is about 12 cities. So 12 by the 3,000 by the 163. That is what is getting us the amount of the 5.8 million Ghana cedis that we are seeing. And then we didn't want to charge this amount to the ECD, because if it's done so, then it means that they could just lift some money somewhere from the coffers of ECD.
Exactly, and give it back to you.
And pay. And that's going to be like a pain with the consumer. It's the same. Like,
exactly.
Yes. You get me?
You are fining us, and you are using our own money to fine and pay us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on the end user.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So the commissioners thought it wise that no, they don't want to. Do that and make the consumer suffer. So they would rather charge it with. The board members. So those who were at post from 1st January to March, they are the ones that this order surrounds.
Where are they going to get the money from? Their board members, are they paid on a salary or something? Or their board allowance?
Well, I don't know. I can't speak to that. But the issue is that they are the ones that make strategic decisions for the company. So they ought to have known certain things. They ought to have acted rightly so that, things will go the right way. So now that it's charged on them, we know all the commission is aware they are men of integrity, and they are law-abiding citizens. They will make sure these monies are paid. And we are not the ones taking that money. We have to be clear about it. That money it's not coming to PRC. Definitely. It's going to the fuel account, where that money would be used to purchase fuel to power the thermal plants, so that our powers, or the power that comes to us for us to have light and all that, will be consistent.
So you're saying you really don't care where they get the money from? Is that what PRC is saying?
In the mind, the wisdom of the commissioners, that is what they are pushing. So I am just here to ask. If you don't like the message, don't shoot the messenger.
I know. I'm just wondering because, yes, it's punitive. Yes, it sent a message. The fact that Zed in the morning, our top story this morning is this, means that it sent a message that, listen, if you're sitting on the board of a public utility, you might be in trouble if things don't go
you
well.
need to act right.
Yes, but isn't that way? And it's like a caution. Are you sure these monies are going to be paid?
Definitely. Since we regulated the activities of these service providers, and then that of those who manufacture the power, those who produce the power, the VRAs, the gridcos, the netcos, the ECG, they are the distribution companies. We regulate their activities, and you don't want to joke with the regulator.
Well, of course, I mean, regulator can always. But this is ECG, running almost a monopolistic enterprise in this country. What at all can you do to punish ECG?
See, there are acts. There are laws.
Mhm.
There are laws that established, these two companies. And then the power has been given to the regulator to make sure that the system is sanitized. So the commission is only exercising its powers as per what has been granted by the Act of Parliament 1997-538.
Come May 30th, they've not paid. What is the PURC going to do?
The last resort is to go to court per the Act, but we haven't gotten there yet.
You trust they will pay?
Definitely. That's why I said they are men of integrity and they are law-abiding citizens, and we trust that they will pay. And we know they will pay. They will pay this amount into the fuel account so that it will be used to purchase fuel to power the plant. They will pay.
Okay, so they didn't do well on the cash waterfall mechanism.
And also the plant maintenance.
And then the plant maintenance where they were supposed to.
Yes.
Okay, what else did they contravene? Because we said three things.
Yes, so there's also another fine.
Mhm.
It's about 36,000 cedis. And that has to do with bank statements that they were supposed to have supplied the commission with. 61, and then they brought about 36, out of that. And the commission realized that there's some inconsistencies in the bank statement that was supplied to the commission during its analysis and investigations. So that one to the allowable penalty unit is about 3,000, and then like 12 cedis per unit. And so the commission thought it wise that they had to charge them only 36,000 for non-compliance with the bank's statement that had to be sent to the commission for analysis. And that deadline for that one too is around 22nd April 2024. Yeah.
There are those who have argued that ECG is doing such an amazing job. They go into parliament, they are holding leadership, saying, listen, you owe us pay and all that. ECG is doing, and that this your directive here, this fine, it's going to derail them of a sort or take away them from doing very important work. I mean, they are already doing good work. Now you are causing them to go sit and plan and come with a response. And is that not going to affect the quality of service that they are going to be giving to us?
No, it's not going to affect that. It is not going to affect that. What would rather affect quality of service is some of these inconsistencies in the system. So the commission, like I'm saying, the commission is only doing its work per the act that establishes it. We are supposed to make sure the utilities are viable so that at the end of the day they can also do their work effectively, but not when issues are not going as is expected per the act. So that's exactly what the commissioners are doing, looking into the system, seeing that concerns are coming around from the IPPs, independent power producers, from all the sector players and all that. The regulator can't just sit down and then look at some of these things. He has to make sure order and sanity prevails in the dealings, in the value chain of the power sector. So that is why the commission has embarked on some of these.
It is said that regulators and players, sometimes the best is to have cordial relationships. Then things like that wouldn't, enforcement and cracking the whip and all that wouldn't come up. What has been the relationship between PURC and ECG over the
Fantastic.
years?
Fantastic. Let's not forget that it's the same commission that they submit proposals to when they want tariff increment, when they realize that things on the market have gone up, inflation, and probably prices of transformers, prices of, meters, all those things have gone up. It's the same commission that they come to submit proposals. We look into it. We do what we call public hearings around the country, and at the end they we invite them as well to justify why they need such increases. And at the end the commission gives them something by way of tariff so that they can be effective and they can be viable. Because if you gave them one cedi and then at the end of the day, price of a transformer has gone to say $3,000 or something, it means that they will have to change a lot of cedis into dollar to make way for the deficit to be able to purchase that transformer for that area that's overloaded and all that. So the same commission that they come to all the time, and I can tell you, I can be emphatic on that the relationship between ECG and the commission has been fantastic over the years. I've been working for around like 12 years and all that. I haven't seen any, back and forth kind of thing with ECG and the commission before. It's fantastic. It's always been fantastic.
They said they are going to meet and come back with a stance on this very fine. That's according to Mr. William Watson, who is the Director of Communication of ECG. Mm-hmm. What is the PURC's expectation?
The commissioners are expecting that they do the right things per the order that has been issued. That's no two ways about it. That is it.
You're so confident they would just abide.
Definitely. Like I said, you don't joke with the regulator. This is the regulator. You're going to come to him for tariff increment and all that. So if an order has been issued for you to do specific things, for you to make sure things are done rightly so that the consumer doesn't suffer, you just got to do it. You just got to do it.
The PURC recently undertook a collaborative engagement with ECG, Ghana Water, the media and consumers at Asamankesi in the West Akim municipal area. Is this something that happens often?
Yes. So before I came to Accra, I was the regional manager for Upper West region.
Okay.
Yes, and we have an aspect of our laws that say, or our functions that say that we should receive complaints, and then when we receive them, we conduct investigations, and then we make sure the dispute between the consumer and the utility service providers are solved amicably. So we do some of these things. We do some of these things periodically, where the ECG, the PURC will meet, engage consumers. We call public education.
Okay.
We engage them. They come. They bring their concerns. We take them, and then we solve them between them, the consumers, and the ECG. So that has been happening. I don't have the statistics here, but a number of complaints come to us. A lot.